Hello, Uganda. Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hotseat on 933 KFM. I welcome you all listeners across this beautiful land, the Pearl of Africa. My name is Patrick Amara. Tonight, we'll have the story of the independents in this election. What is their story like? What are their challenges? How are they trying to convince Ugandans, and what story or what kind of manifesto do they carry? What is the pain of Ugandans? When Ugandans decide from the perspective of the independents, what is it that they want to hear from them, and what is it that they want the government and their representatives to do? So we'll be picking an independent from northern Uganda. We shall get an independent from Kigezi region and here in Buganda. And so let us go straight to an independent who is joining us from Amuru district in Kilak South, a young man who's dared to dream and represent the people of Kilak South. Joining us online from the field of Kilak is Mr. Bernard Chankara. Good evening, Bernard. Can you hear me?
Yes, Patrick, I can hear you loud and clear. Good evening, and good evening, listeners.
Thank you so much, Bernard, for having spared some time to be able to speak to us in a moment like this, when I know you should be combing the villages of Kilak South. You know, when you decide to go independent and when you decide to represent the people of Kilak South, first of all, what is it like to be an independent in this campaign?
Thank you very much. It is an enormous task to run as an independent candidate in a country where politics has been highly monetized. You, Patrick, you know very well that Uganda has been going through a tough moment, especially when it comes to its multi-party dispensation and the growth of democracy. We also know that this country over time has become highly monetized economy, in which to become a leader in this country, you must be able to either spend or gather a lot of resources that will be able to support you. And so the decisions to run as independent candidates is an enormous task, because one, it requires a lot of finances, and it will dig deep into your pocket, and of course the pockets of your friends and relatives that you want to try and raise, and sometimes many people even end up losing resources. And so it is extremely challenging to run as an independent candidate.
But Bernard, one would imagine that if you have a good manifesto and you're a man of good repute and you're a man of good record and good standing, then the people would want services and they want a better representative. It can also be that the people can fundraise money for you, and instead of for you giving out the money, because I've also seen it somewhere where people bring money to a candidate so that they can support his candidature.
No, Patrick. I think that there are exceptional cases that can happen in Uganda. And usually when that happens, it's really at a very minimal level. And you cannot really bank on the account that you will be able to raise money from the electorate. It is not in Ugandan's culture that politicians or leaders are actually supported by the electorate. And so it is very rare, and that has not been the culture. And I must let you know that the way our democracy has been coined and constructed, it is in a way to limit many people from participating in elective politics. And the only way to do that is make politics extremely expensive.
But we expected, Bernard, that the young elites like you who are joining politics and have been able to analyze the situation of Uganda, that you are not going to conform with the status quo, that you are going to be revolutionary in looking at politics. So instead of giving money, more or less like buying the vote, it's the other way around, people putting money into your campaign, because it is possible for them to do that.
You must be able to stand your ground. Patrick, I come from a background where I'm a PhD candidate in public policy. I have a master's in public policy, and I have practiced public policy for the last, I think, 10 or 12 years. But I can tell you without fear of contradiction the rural populations are completely disfranchised and they don't have even livelihood. Like in Amur, for example, you should know that in northern Uganda, especially in Acholi, we are regarded, the current statistics of UBOS puts us as the most poorest region in this country. And that means that our population are actually highly vulnerable. And so to be able to run an election and in a way that you can win, you must be able to stand your ground if you're not going to stand. For me, for example, I am not really spending a lot of money because I have decided to go into the election to educate people to understand that the poverty that they are actually experiencing, it is a result of policy failures. And so I have deconstructed that message in the simplest local Acholi language in a way that people understand. Yes, you should be able to have present good manifestos and have clear direction, but on the other hand, you should be able to have some money. You should be able to have some logistics. It is not in our culture, in a way that our democracy has been practiced or coined for the electorate to support the leaders. It is instead the other way around. The electorate will go, you will go speak. There are some rallies or there are some community engagements that I go to. After speaking to the electorate and of course the people, then they will say, okay, now Honorable, are you going to leave us like that? Okay. And there are even language that has been constructed, around money that the leaders or the politicians use for. For example, in Acholi, there is a common language of political money as Oloyoden, meaning that is better than debt. So instead of going to borrow money, maybe from the financial institutions and all these other things, people say, when politicians give you money, it is better than going to borrow. And so that is the level of our degeneration and the way our people elected. So it is extremely difficult to run under as an independent candidate because of these issues. But by and large, it still remains a very critical aspect. But of course, Patrick, if we must change this country, the elite must allow their hands to get dirty.
So now one wonders if it is a Herculean task, quite monumental, for you to run as independent. Then I'm wondering, why is Mr. Bernard Chankara deciding to run independent? Yet you could have joined many parties, and with them there comes financial resources. You could have a bigger financial war chest for you to go in Clark South or Namuru and be able to reach every place you want to go to.
No, Patrick. Let's not be misguided. The political parties that we have actually raise money from the people to be able to support themselves. So entirely, especially the political parties, especially in those in opposition, are actually raising money from their members. We've seen, for example, the National Unity Platform trying to raise money from their members to facilitate their campaign. We've also seen political parties like Democratic Front trying to raise money from within their rank to be able to support candidates. And even me, at a personal level, I am a right-centered person. And so of late, I've been having good conversations with Democratic Front. But that, even if you go under a political party, trust me, my friend, it will still be very difficult. You will get some resources, but you will not get resources to a tune that will be able to run the entire campaign.
Okay, so now, apart from the money aside, still with the money, because it appears even you to get in, we have heard in some cases, Bernard, that just to think about it, you need at least $500 million. You must be a billionaire to even think about going into Clark's house. If that is the situation, then you're really, like they say these days, you're really loaded. Patrick,
I think I am a 36-year-old PhD candidate. Certainly, I don't have $1 billion. I have lived my life with high level of integrity. I have not stolen anybody's money, and so I don't have the $500 million feeling that people will go into the elections with. But I am confident that the people when I engage with them, I try to educate them to the level that I can, and they're able to listen. Because in Kilak South, by the way, I can give you a bit of history. I'm running again as a colleague of ours from the Forum for Democratic Change, and that is Honorable Gilbert Olanya. He has been the member of parliament for the last 15 years. Yeah? And prior to that, I think he was a councillor. But when you come to Acholi, Amuru or Kilak South, where I come from, is considered the most poorest region. Okay? And yet, my current member of parliament, when you listen to him and you if you are a social media fanatic, you may think there is a lot going to be done. A lot is being done. But in the actual sense, there is no policy negotiation that is actually benefiting the people of Kilak South. And so these are concerns, these are questions that were put into the people. And over time, people have also realized that there are some leaders that are good at blowing hot air when they actually can't deliver the actual progressive or transformative development that Kilak needs. And so this is not necessarily in Kilak. By the way, in the entire Acholi region, the Acholis have realized that the leaders that they're presenting or that they've been trying to front to parliament, they've not been able to negotiate with government and appropriate resources to this part of the country.
But this poverty you're talking about, when you look at the government programs that we have, are supposed to be reaching every household in the village. At least we have 100 million, we're told, that is coming from parish development model program that should be reaching every parish, 100 million in every parish. And so if you have a sub-county that has maybe 10 parishes, that's about 1 billion in a sub-county. That is some money that is kind of unprecedented to reach a village level. It should be able to create a difference. And I'm only talking about one government program.
Patrick, I wish sometimes government can listen to people who understand economic development. You see, it is quite unfortunate that government, especially the NRM government, looks at progress or development from an economic growth perspective. But the economic development focus on the quality and the quality of life of people. In 2021, when government started the conversation of PDM, Parish Development Model, I wrote a paper. If any listener have time, you can Google my name, Chankara Bernard, or any. I wrote a paper on PDM, and I said PDM will not develop this country. It is another thing to pour water in a funnel, and it's another thing to pour water in a cup. This economy tax from every Uganda. The level of tax that people pay, it is enormous. The cost of running a small garden, it is quite exorbitant. These days, you can plant your maize. There is this GMO seed that is everywhere. You plant maize, I have 1 acre. At the end of when the time for harvest arrives.
But you know, Mr. Chankara, today I've been looking at images coming in from Amuru, and to be exact, from Pabo. The incumbent president was the candidate for NRM, Yoweri Museveni. If you look at the crowds that turned up in Pabo, and you see how Amuru is so enthusiastic, welcoming General Museveni as a candidate of NRM, you can actually tell that the people of Amuru, and to be exact, the people of Pabor, have really embraced the government programs and the candidate of NRM.
I think that's the wrong way of looking at it. It is another thing to ferry people to participate in a rally, and it is another thing for people to voluntarily participate in an election. I come from a village, a small village called Kaladima, which of course it's just nearby the main road that connects the town council to the highway, the Gulu Juba highway. And in the morning when I woke up, I saw fleets of trucks ferrying people from all corners of the district, taking them to to participate in the rally. And so that is what in elite political science we will call it enticed participation. It is not voluntary participation. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Bernard Jankara, hold on to your points because you're going to take a break, and I'm going to come back with you, and I'll be asking about how the ground is like, apart from the money, because in some cases we hear people being harassed, we hear all this kind of stuff, but how is it for yourself? And after that, we'll go to another region, but we're going to stay with you now after the break. Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight is joining me online from Kilak South in Amuru District, Mr. Bernard Chankara, who has dared to dream and represent his people in the parliament, the people of Kilak South. But let us look at Bernard. I understand some people have been having difficulties, especially if you are in opposition or maybe independent. What is your story?
It is quite challenging, Patrick. As much as I must say that for the last 3 years, I've been on ground. I've been in Kampala, but many times I am on ground. I'm moving around. I'm meeting people. I'm talking to people so that they can understand these ideas and the direction that we need to take as a district. And so it's been challenging. But I'm again very optimistic because people have welcomed me with open arms. People have reached out to me. People have come. People have supported. There was a day I was in a small village, and they just organized a prayer session for me, and it was amazing to participate. So for me, aside from the financial challenges that we go through as either independent or people who are likely trying to cause a certain direction, you don't want to bribe, you don't want to pay to bribe the voters, you just want to remain yourself, be articulate, and try to express and show direction for your people. It is extremely challenging because our people have become very vulnerable.
So there are those people like you in opposition or independents who say they've had an altercation with the security apparatus, with the police or the army, or maybe RDCs and RISO. So for your case, so far so good.
I have not had a direct engagement, but perhaps probably because our nominations are yet to happen. We expect those. I have many times I've said the political behavior of government and government state agencies have been wanting. It is quite surprising that this time round we've not had a lot of intimidations in the communities. I have not been in active campaign, but I've been holding small community engagement, and that has not been interrupted.
So for you, that's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, perhaps that behavior will change after nominations. I think from Wednesday or Thursday, that behavior is likely to change. We are going to see a lot of violence and intimidation happens across the district because that has been the behavior. We know when such behavior sets in, especially in Kilak South, we know, especially that behavior of intimidations, threatening violence against other opponents or other supporters' opponents will likely come to the surface after the nomination. That we can take it to the bank.
But now let's look into the issue of the people themselves. Are you meeting a people who understand what the role of a member of parliament is? Because let's face it, you're going to legislate, you're going to do oversight and maybe appropriation, and largely that's a job. But do the people understand your job?
Patrick, our people, if you look at the education statistics of Amuru district, you will be worried. First of all, Amuru is one of the poorest performing districts when it comes to PLE or UCE or UACE. When you go there are many sub-counties that don't even have a secondary school. So the level of literacy, it's very low. And so majority of our population do not understand exactly the role of a member of parliament. And that is why a larger part of my campaign has been to educate our people to understand that it is through their vote and they send a credible, a reliable leader that can go in the house and appropriate resources and negotiate resources for their people, because there are 526 members of parliament in this country, if I'm not mistaken. Each of these members of parliament are scrambling for a small piece for their constituency. And so if you don't send your best negotiator and someone who understands this dynamic, you will end up with nothing. And so I've been struggling and laboring to explain to the people of Kilak South that the roads that they see from Gulu Nimole Road to Otwe to Lakan crossing to Ajumani has never been tarmacked, and yet government, the president keeps promising. Even today, as we speak, the president has committed to tarmac this road, and it has been there for the last 20 years. So if you don't send your best negotiator, whether it is in NRM or it is in opposition, you will get nothing.
But you know, when some of us who are visitors to Amuru, you have been blessed abundantly by the natural resources in terms of soil. You have maybe the best arable land in northern Uganda, good for grazing, also good for cultivation. It's the best land you can have. And some people would say, why can't the people be able to utilize the God-given resource to fight poverty on their own, because, I mean, everything is in their favor, at least in terms of natural resources?
Well, for us, there is no doubt Amuru has one of the best land in terms of the enrichment of the soil. I think the approach to the agricultural strategy has not worked. People have not been supported directly to be able to cultivate the land in a way that can enrich them. Most of these models that I hear the president talks about are largely rhetoric. It has not been implemented unless just a few handful of individuals have been able to do some of those. And of course, again, when it comes to the issues of cultivation, we are also struggling with invaders of land. The land question in Amuru is very contentious. Yeah, we have people that are trying to invade the land. We have the Balalo question that remain unresolved. Whereas the Balalos are trying to acquire land, which of course is customary and cannot be sold. They are trying to graze the land to the people in the land. In land for the people who actually lost their cattle. And so you can't say, I have, let's say, 1,000 heads of cattle, and the people that are trying to sell you the land, they had cows before, and they were either looted in the LRA war, or the Karamojong invaders had taken those lands.
But Bernard, you know, the land question in Uganda is a very complex question, and for northern Uganda, recently they were told to leave, and we understand a big number, if not all of them, have left the area. But even if they have not left the area, there has been
some, of course, have left, but others have remained, and in fact, many of them are hiding, they are collaborating. You see, when you're dealing with disenfranchised communities and vulnerable communities, many of them are even collaborating with the locals, yeah, because they are vulnerable. And so they hide their cattle with some of the locals, yeah. Because
but what you're also calling collaborating could be something like a unity of the people who have come together, working together. If anything, there has been a willing seller and a willing buyer of this land.
Patrick, I can again say this to the country: the land in Acholi is customary. It is not owned by anybody. For example, where I stay, where I built my home, it belongs to my great grandfather, and it is not my land, and it is not for my father as well. It is not even going to be for my son. It is only held by the levy on the behalf of the dead for the unborn, and that is how we define customary. Yeah. It is so you can't sell it, and that is what.
But I know a big number of Acholi leaders and Acholi themselves have actually bought land and have ranches in northern Uganda, and these are Acholi like you.
Patrick, Acholi welcome trade. Okay, in many cases, some of these negotiations. If you've ever been in Acholi, there are also communities that have given land to some people for free. Yeah. So in Acholi can actually give land to somebody for free. You don't have to buy it. And so it is also possible that whereas that narrative might also be true in some cases, it is also possible that the Acholis can also voluntarily give land to another Acholi for free to cultivate. Yeah. And that has been the practice in Acholi. Yeah. We've never sold land. Land has never been a traded commodity. If that is happening, then of course the challenges and the behavior that we are experiencing, especially because of this the environment that we find ourselves in. Yeah.
All right.
In the core traditional practices in Acholi, land is not a traded commodity.
All right. Mr. Bernard Chankara from Kilak South in Namuru, who is daring to dream and represent his people, I want to thank you so much for the time you've given us. You've been spoken with a lot of clarity and conviction on what you want to do. I want to thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. And Uganda should wait for me in the parliament.
Okay. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we shall be coming here in Central Region, here in Kampala region. We shall be joined again online by another independent from Makindi West, Mr. Kiyega Rogers Edward. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat. My name is Patrick Kamara, and tonight we're trying to hear the story of the independents in this campaign. Those who are running for parliamentary seats. We've just heard from Mr. Bernard Chankara, who is dared to dream and represent the people of Clark South in Namuru in northern Uganda. And we shall also be joined by Mr. Roland Njomujanyi from Ruchiga County in Kigezi. But now, from here in Kampala, we are joined by another young Ugandan who has dared to dream and represent the people of Makindi West, Mr. Kiyega Rogers Edward. Edward, can you hear me?
Yes, Patrick, I can hear you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we understand you have decided to go independent, and in the city of Kampala, in Makindi, and yet you could have chosen a party, and there are very many. And when you choose a party, work becomes easier, we suppose, to be able to do your campaign. Why are you going solo?
Yes, Patrick, good evening to all our listeners. As you mentioned, I'm running for Member of Parliament, Makindi West constituency, specifically as an independent candidate. Well, to look back to our history, if you compare the 2021 elections, 2016 elections to the current situation, I can confirm to you that you're going to see a very big number of independent candidates in the 12th Parliament. Why? When you go back to the multi-party system, you're going to see that because of the intrigue that has been developing, or that the intrigue that has developed in the multi-party system, you find that people have lost trust in the system and the kind of people that it is producing. If you can look across the board, if you look at the ruling party, if you look at the opposition parties, well, I should say I'm an independent candidate who is very much in favor of change. I strongly believe that there is a better Uganda that we should all be looking up to. Okay? So I found that all the time, ever since my time at the university, when you belong to parties, you find that those who have been in the party, over time, they will develop a sense of entitlement, a sense of ownership. And there is a certain sense that they should have a say on who should be the next something or anyone. And that is why you find that both across the aisle, the ruling party.
But you know, Rogers, what you're getting into is not a tea party. It's a political fight of sorts. So you just have to go and take the bull by the horns. If there's NUP or DP or NRM and there's an incumbent, you go to the primary, you tussle it out. And by the way, that's another way of trying to show yourself the political muscle as you take another step. Why are you scared of jumping into the fray with whoever it is, whether it's incumbent or not, and you prove yourself?
Patrick, it's not being afraid of jumping into the political the chaos, but as an independent, as Chiega, having understood the issues at hand, we need to understand that as a country, all the issues that we are facing, and I'm sure, Patrick, you know all these things as a journalist who has done investigations around the country, understanding why are we poor as a country, why is it that the number of students is always decreasing as you go through the ladder of education from primary. At the time you're doing PLE, there's a very big number. The entry point into secondary school is reducing. By the time you go into HSC and the university, the numbers are reducing. Now, being an individual that has carefully looked at all these issues, and I've identified that the parties are running away from actually solving the actual problems of the people and looking at the party stance. That is why I find that with my being an independent candidate in this coming election, I'm trying to rally the people back to the actual issues. That you may belong to this party, but have you understood the issues of this country?
You know, but Mr. Kiyega, when you go alone, then it becomes a logistical challenge in terms of resources, because let's face it, resources are key in any campaign here in Uganda, because money has become a big issue. But when you have a financial war chest backed up by a political party, it makes your work easier, I suppose.
Look, Patrick, that is the mindset that has been created by those who came before us. Why? To divert us from action. Because now, when people see you having the party machinery, the party logistics, now you are switched from addressing the issues that are in the community. You're diverted from talking to people about the issues, and you're only talking about party principles, party things, just to divert the people from the actual issues. And that's why I'm finding a problem with political parties. That even when you look at the manifestos, you're going to look. I got an opportunity of listening to all the candidates as they were launching their manifestos. I can clearly tell you that all these things are being massaged, and at the end of the day, us who are coming in, we are forced to reckon with the high budget to deal with procuring T-shirts. People are telling you now we need reflector jackets, but all that is being done by those who have come before us to make it hard for new entrants to also have a say in matters of this country. But I can assure you, what we have done more so now when it comes to March India West, I have been running a series of civic education programs throughout my platform, trying to teach people what are the roles of members of parliament, besides the four cardinal roles. What is the role of an LC5? What is the role of an LC3 in a village? Those are things that we have been running, and that is why we're trying to rally people back. As we take on these political parties, we are trying to send a message, not just to the political parties, but to the country as a whole, that besides these political parties, can we have a leadership, at least let it start from March India West, a kind of leadership that is based on solving the actual issues and not just simply throwing around manifestos. I think we have been doing that for the past few months with civic education throughout the whole platform, and that is the cardinal role that we are looking at. Because when people hear you addressing the issues of education, for example, here in March India West, the issue of foreigners taking over even the smallest businesses that Ugandans should be doing, people will not look at the logistics. They will want to know exactly, you have faced this issue, how are you going to deal with it? Because that is what people are facing with. When you go into campaigns, you don't find people naked. People are always stressed. But to divert them from the issues, you're going to come with T-shirts, others are going to come with big loud systems, others are going to come with reflector jackets, buying fuel for borders to go around and distract people from the actual issues. Now the conversation goes back to logistics, which should not be the case for a person at the level of a member of parliament.
So you're talking about the foreigners. Yes, I've seen a lot of people have come from the Horn of Africa to Makinde. Is it Kiyega's idea that the people who are here, and some of them are actually running businesses and contributing to Uganda's economy, should just quit?
Well, Patrick, when I talk about the issues of foreigners taking over March India West, well, it's not just March India West, but the whole of March India. And when I go back to what I talked about, the issue of mindset, as a country, we have been fine-tuned to keep quiet with the problems we have. For example, if any Ugandan, for example, if Chiega comes up to talk about the issues of foreigners doing, for example, vending food or doing small stores, then Chega is going to be labeled as a bad person. But Chega is trying to speak for so many young women and young men who are trying to do small businesses to survive. We are not saying we don't want foreigners, but we need to face the issue that if the number of...
I can give you an example. For example, I'll give you an example of the whole of Bunga, the whole of Kansanga, Kabalagala, Muyenga, Tank Hill Road has tremendously been transformed by foreigners. They have brought in a lot of money in that economy, and I think that's a good thing for Uganda and Kampala.
Patrick, at what cost? At what cost? This government is working for the people of Uganda. What is going to be now, when you go back into investigating the sources of capital for all these foreigners, what would you tell me? Yet you're going to go back to a normal Ugandan who is failing to access capital. It has to set up a small fruit vending business. We are not saying we don't want foreigners, but we need to have a system that is going to check. If they are coming to seek refuge, let them have a place, let government plan for them. But when they start taking on small businesses that should be run by Ugandans, fruit vending, before you know it, they're going to be doing border cycling, they're going to be doing Ubers. Then, Patrick, what is still left of an ordinary Ugandan? I'm not just speaking for much English. I will refer you back to what happened in South Sudan a few years back when Ugandans were being expelled back. That was because Ugandans were taking over the job of Sudanese. And this is also happening here. So we can look at it as a small effect, but it's building on the unemployment rate. Even that you'll see that when we had the NAM conference here around Rukuli, FCCA came and demolished all side businesses of young Ugandans who are doing small businesses. But guess what? As I speak right now, wherever there was a small business of any Ugandan, it's now being replaced by another person or a foreigner's business. Why? There is no one on top of the society to check all this that is happening. And that is why you find that much in the West has been a dumping place for all these things, and no one is coming out to say anything. So now we are standing on that to say that you don't have to be an NRM, you don't have to be a local person, but who is speaking for the ordinary Ugandan? And that is Chega. So that is the campaign we are running. Besides logistics, besides party manifestos, we want to address the ordinary citizens' issues. And that is what we're doing.
And finally, before I let you go, Mr. Kiyega, other contenders in different constituencies are talking about the issue of money, that the elections have been so much commercialized that you really need to, they are literally dishing out money. For you to have even an audience, you have to have some money. What is your situation? What is your case?
Patrick, for any organization, for any meeting, of course, there's going to be a bit of financial implication that is going to be involved. Even if you're trying to do anything in this country, even if it's moving from point A to point B, there's going to be a financial implication. Why? I will tell you exactly what I said before. This is the mindset that has been built by those who came before us. I'll give you an example. I am an independent. I am running for the first time, though not in public service, because I've been at a leadership level throughout my community as a community organizer, all the way from the university. But when it comes to this level, we are trying to understand that if you have been with the community, you have been journeying with the community, let me tell you, even if you call, for example, if you go through the LC1 or whichever platform you have, if you're calling people and telling them, you know what, we have a meeting this evening, and you have been journeying with them, Patrick, I've not held any meeting and I've not had people in any meeting soliciting from any money from me. Of course, as you move around the community, people will tell you soda, don't really say about soda, but they are saying it because they have been fine-tuned. So as a person running for Member of Parliament, it is your cardinal responsibility to continue the civic education, starting with that person. You know that I will give you soda, but ask yourself, if I give you soda, how am I going to replace that money when I go back to Parliament? Or when I give you that 50,000, ask yourself, this 50,000, is it for the road or is it for the hospital? Or is it for the teachers?
Mr. Kiyega Rogers Edward, we thank you so much for having honored this time to be on our platform. You have definitely added value to our understanding on the independent candidates from your own perspective. We wish you luck from here on the hot seat.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Patrick.
Yeah, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we shall try to connect to another contender who was an independent coming in from Ruchiga County, Ruchiga District, the Honorable Roland Indiomo Bish. And also, we shall open the lines also so that you too, who is listening, you can have your say. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat. My name is Patrick Kamara, and tonight we try to get in touch with the contenders who are running on as independent candidates in different constituencies. We have heard from the very beginning from Mr. Bernard Chankara, who is running for Kilak South in Namuru district in northern Uganda. He's a man who's thinking he has it, and that he's been able to convince the people, and he thinks the issue of money is big, but they're trying to put a message that can go beyond money. And we've also listened from Kiega Rogers Andrew, who is running in Makindye West, and also an independent. We've been trying to get in touch with Roland Indiomo from Ruchiga County, but looks like we are unable to connect the line there. So what we're going to do is open the line so that you too, who is listening, you can be able to have your say and tell us what you think about this campaign. The issue of money. How can Ugandans get into the campaign without necessarily, asking for money or being enticed by money, so that they can choose the best people to represent them at the end of the day, so that they can ask for accountability when things go wrong? Because if somebody has just put in their money and they have bought your vote, why should you even complain when things go wrong? Because in the first case, they bought this ticket. It's not that you gave them the mandate. They bought the mandate so they can do as they want. So what do you think? And I'm opening the lines. I have a call online already. Hello.
Yes, Kamara, you're like from the
Yes, this sounds like Juma. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having the nation.
You're welcome. Go right ahead. What do you make of this whole campaign and the money issue, especially, people, we, the voters, are looking for money. The contenders are giving money. Sometimes they don't even understand, both the contender and the voter don't understand what the role of an MP is.
Thank you so much for bringing me tonight. Otherwise, for me, I'm worried of the future of politics in Uganda. Because even the voters themselves, they will grow into that mentality. Whoever any candidate coming to talk to them, their first aim is, how are you going to live us? If you are spoiling. So for me, those who are going like independent is like I'm seeing already. You have no muscle for the finances, so I don't know how they are going to do it for sure.
Okay.
My prayer is I wish them well. Let them try their luck. Thank you so much.
All right, Juma, you have seen. I have another call online, and let me also hear your view.
Good evening.
Good evening. Whom am I talking to, sir?
Kiza Besije from Kasangati.
Kiza Bisija in Kasangati. Every time you say you are Kiza Bisija and you are from Kasangati, some people are about to sing hallelujah.
No, I'm not an FDC here, and the new party, the PPF person. But
you're not the Kano and you're not the doctor.
No, I'm not the Kano. I've never been a Kano anywhere.
Okay.
But I'm happy for the way how you are bringing out MPs.
Yes.
We can even hear them. I like the way you pose these questions, because now they test the capacity of these MPs and how they are going to lead. We hear lamenters, we hear people who are actually not satisfied with the results that come out of primaries. They want to come as independents. And the question would be to say the quality of legislation is going to be compromised. I don't want to talk about money too much, because that has its own. It can take the whole debate. But my issue is the quality of the MPs we are taking to Parliament. When you hear a person leading in the city and is complaining about foreigners, and I would ask you, where in any city in the world would you not find foreigners and you are having a problem with them, instead of working along with them to ensure that you develop your area? Because we've seen cities like London have been developed by foreigners. Some mayors have have foreign roots. Some of them are from Uganda and in the USA, everywhere. So I think the quality, I'm worried about the MPs that are coming.
There's a Ugandan born called Zoran Mamudani who is running for mayor of New York, and he's in the pole position. And he's in pole position.
Are they campaigning him on the basis of being a Ugandan? No, it is to say, does he have the qualities of being a good leader? Can he be a good mayor? That's what people want to hear. So we want to hear about how best are you going to deliver for the communities. I'm happy with the way you are questioning these MPs. Bring them more so that we can also quench those who can lead us.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Bisija there, calling in from Kasangati. I want to thank you. So you can hear sometimes you're able to gauge about the kind of leaders we're going to have, and well, I think they're good. I think they have what takes. I have a call online. Let me take maybe the second last caller. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Kamara.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is John. I'm calling from Mbuya.
John in Mbuya, go right ahead, sir.
Mr. Kamara, issue we have, I think the law must be set. The law must be passed. That says that an MP must stand for only 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
For the rest of his life, you only stand in 2 terms. When you finish 2 terms, don't regret again. Don't even think of becoming an MP. Because now these guys, they are taking an opportunity. Some are coming for. They are standing for the 5th time, for the 6th time. So, and they are putting a lot of corruption in politics. So when you put that rule,
the term limits of just of 2 terms.
Of 2 terms, you only stand for your 2 terms. When you are done, don't regret again to come back to Parliament. I think that one will help again. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. For him, he has come up with the proposition that maybe some of them have overstayed their welcome. They should just serve 2 terms, maybe 10 years in total, and that would be good enough. I don't know what you think, but it's always good to have you with us on this show. I want to thank Mr. Bernard Chankara, a man who's from Amuru in Clark South. I want to thank Mr. Rogers Kiyega from here in Makindi West. I want to thank all of you. I've been a part of this discussion. I want to thank you for the privilege of your company. And so we're going to come to the end of tonight's edition of this show. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same station. I can see in Studio 1, Catherine Ageno standing by with news of KFM at 8. Good night.